I shouldn't be shocked or surprised by anti-Semitism, but I always am, because it comes out from people who are, you assume that people are intelligent. Well, they are intelligent, and therefore you assume that they would not come out with what they come out with, which is this barking mad, deranged, paranoid belief that the Jews control everything. And you hear, you see people sort of nodding along, and they must be completely mad, because the Jews are the most persecuted people on earth. If the Jews were the most powerful people on earth, then they made a pretty poor fist of it. The old joke: two men sitting on a park bench, one guy is reading a newspaper, and he is chuckling to himself, reading the newspaper, and the other guy, two Jews, and the other Jew says, "What are you reading? Why are you laughing? You're reading such terrible things. You're reading about, anti-Semitism. You're reading about the attacks on Jews across the world, and you're laughing?" And the Jew who's reading the paper says, "I'm reading that we control the world."
Yeah, point taken. And in my own country, the Jewish component of the population would be similarly small as it is in Britain. And yet, as many people have pointed out, our most famous general, and probably one of the great generals of the First World War, because he was not only an effective general, but he cared about his troops. He found ways to advance the cause with minimum bloodshed. And that was General Monash from Melbourne. Two of our Governor Generals, very good Governor Generals, as it happens, have been Jewish, and then in a whole range of areas they've made a contribution that far outweighs their numerical numbers, and their critics, for example, the two nurses who have disgracefully been caught on camera saying outrageous things. They both happen, I'm going to put this on the record, to be of Muslim background, indicating that they would not care for people who came into the health system. And it's a good thing in Australia that authorities everywhere in the health system have said, right, they will never work in the health system.
They said they would not care for it. They would kill Israelis who came into the health system.
Yeah, they would kill Israelis. Implied even that perhaps they might have, which I doubt. I hope they haven't. But at least there's been a strong reaction. They'll never work again in the health system. That's something. But it is unbelievable. And I guess my point, there's a twofold point to make out of that is, if you're going to criticise, just ask yourself firstly what you've done for your country and for your community, because the Jewish people in Australia have done a great deal. In net terms, they've made a massive contribution. The second point I'd make is, I know a little bit about power. I've been part of it. It's laughable to think the Jewish people exercise control in the way that is suggested. It's absolutely risible. It bears no relationship to truth at all.
Well, anti-Semitism is a weird thing. We can all find...
maybe perhaps supernatural in some ways. Yeah, it's almost beyond our understanding.
Well, exactly. We can all find, all kinds of very plausible and entirely, I think, justifiable explanations for why it happens in a particular way at a particular time for particular sorts of people. Those reasons are perfectly valid. Ultimately, it's a mystery. Ultimately, it's a mystery. It's the longest hatred. It has existed ever since the Jewish people began to be a Jewish people. And it continues without end. The most we can ever expect is that it's put back under its stone, so that it's kept to a minimum and restricted to what are considered to be unacceptable fringes of society. That's how it was when I was growing up in Britain. And now it's out from under its stone and roaring around, out of control, an absolute tsunami of it, rolling across the West, and having infected countless numbers of people who are totally mainstream. They are upstanding citizens. They are professionals. They're intellectuals in the universities, in politics, in the law, in medicine. A lot in medicine, for some reason, and the health systems, the official class. I mean, across great swathes of the culture, the artistic culture, and I'm afraid to say the Anglican Church. And so this is the terrible thing that's happened.